Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of OpenShift.tv. This is the Developer Experience Office Hours. Today I am joined by the great Brian Tanis, always so fresh and so clean, and the amazingly high-tech Ryan Jarvinen. I am Chris Short, Principal Technical Marketing Manager on the OpenShift team here at Red Hat. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
Brian?
Yeah. I guess I was first in the.
Ryan,
I'm just going based on Chris's
What
order.
are we doing? I was first. I will go first. I'm Brian Tanis. I am a developer advocate. Obviously, here at Red Hat, I focus on OpenShift. Based out of Dallas. It's a hot day today, so I'm glad I'm inside with all these lights.
Hey.
Inside with all these lights.
They make all the heat.
Nice.
Hey. Well, Ryan Jarvinen here, hanging out with the cool kids. Welcome to the party. And if you have any questions for us, please drop them in chat. We'd love to hear your thoughts and try to help you answer a couple questions about using Kubernetes, OpenShift, containers. I had a super softball question for us to throw back and forth today. If you have better questions than this, please drop them into chat. We would love to hear what you are dealing with and try to give you more specific advice. But I'm going to start it off with two topics that I wanted to touch on today. One is a general question of why containers, and also why not. What's the appropriate balancing point for developers to derive some type of meaning and value, right? And then also, I was going to do a demo. I have an environment that I have already done a little bit of prep work to set this environment up, but it's ready to go. And we can do a live migration from OpenShift for something to whatever's available, and we'd have to go check the list of available upgrades to find out what specifically is available now. I know Brian last week talked about the process he went through of switching to a different channel and then initiating the upgrade. So I might try to kick that off. That will probably take a while. So while we're working on it, we'd love to hear your thoughts and questions.
Awesome. I think that makes sense. That's cool. I like that, the upgrade idea. I mean, since that might take a little bit, are we gonna start with that?
Yeah. And then as soon as I hit a stall point, feel free to jump in with try to make it relevant with why containers or why Kubernetes as we go through it. So let me see if I can find my login info.
Oh boy. Login info. Here we go.
I pasted it into a doc and shared it with the two of you on the stream here. Chris and Brian, you should both have a copy.
There it is.
I do see you, Chris, talking in the chat on the that AWS bill. That's I read a little bit about that. I read your article. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, Waleed, it wasn't KubeVirt. We'll never know. To be honest with you, we'll never know what went wrong, what happened. The only thing we can think is that it was just this really, really horrible mistake, or something broke potentially in somebody's CI pipeline and just downloaded a few thousand copies of the same image that completely were bypassed by Cloudflare because I wasn't aware of a limitation on some of their caching capabilities, and the fact that they don't cache like everything that you throw at them anymore is also news to me as well, because I've been with them so long. It used to just be like you could throw
limitation on file, or what was it? There's a limitation on file size.
There's a 512 megabyte limitation on pretty much everybody unless you're an enterprise customer. And then there's only certain file types that they're caching now. And QCOW2 was obviously not one of them.
Right.
Yeah, 5G for 5 gigs for enterprise customers, I think. So yeah, like even this as an enterprise customer would have been a problem for me. So it's pretty wild.
Right.
But I mean, I can drop a link to this. Isn't about me. This is not the About Me show. This is about the y'all show.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's still pretty interesting though. I think that drop the link.
I'll drop a link, and if anybody's curious, they can go read about it. And I'm doing a thing at 2 today it's called Distance DevOps. Just gonna hop on and chat about it for a little bit. And if you're interested in that, I can send a link over to that too.
What time is that?
That is at 2 and
2 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, sorry, 2 p.m. Eastern, and I'm trying to find like a public link to where to go to get to it.
I mean, I say that it is still relevant and interesting for our audience and our perspective. At least I think it is, because developers, we're working on things. We might have projects and random little things that we have deployed or whatnot, and it's important to think about those. Not all the time you're thinking, oh hey, I'm expecting my caching provider to cache these files, but there's a disconnect or there's issues. So I think that that is interesting, and it is important to think about.
As Corey Quinn called it years and years ago, he called it the sharp edges of cloud.
Yeah.
It's the little gray areas and details, and I have a whole talk about the sharp edges of clouds now that I can add this to, which is fun. But like I pointed out in the talk that I did for JFrog Swamp Up this year, that those little asterisks in your bill, like when it comes to reserve instances and having all the discounts and everything else, that's all dependent upon this asterisk, and you have to apply all this stuff to make that asterisk happen, right? So all these credits and things you're just going to consume unless you actually manage them. Like you have to manage every bit of it. And it's not just as simple as like, oh yeah, we're just jumping the cloud. No, you still have to manage credits like you would manage power consumption, right? Like in your data center kind of thing. So yeah.
So
definitely
preview for today at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
That's not here. That's someplace else. So I will find you the link to wherever it is elsewhere, but I will ask Rob if I could steal it and maybe put it on my website or something. I don't know.
If you folks in the audience are not already following Chris Short on Twitter, this is a good opportunity to follow him. He's also got a DevOps-ish email weekly. Is that right?
Yes, I just relaunched it from hiatus, adjusting to life. It was on hiatus for a few weeks, adjusting to life in the new coronavirus world. So yeah, if you're not following me on Twitter, I highly recommend that, because I will talk about the channel on Twitter, and you'll get but notifications about when slides go out and things like that too. So you'll get a lot of tech news. You'll get a lot of, random pictures of baby turkeys and such. But yeah, that's all good stuff for you to see on Twitter.
Cool. So I'm going to, if you can folks see my login prompt here? I'm going to do
a login prompt. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go through a quick, see how far I can make it before I hit a wall here. So This is a fresh cluster. I created this last night. Skipped over the actual setup piece. So if AWS bites you in the wallet, I don't know, talk to Chris. But let's see if I can get this login right. Open TLC.
So there's a question in chat. Any update on when the NSXT NCP support will be provided with OpenShift installer IPI? I don't even know what NSXT NCP is. So that's definitely a my team question. Oh, the reply function is different today. Cool. Twitch updated some stuff. I will ask that question in my team chat and let you know, Tajaro, however you say your screen name. Blah, 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 blah. Block quote.
Haha. Okay. So here I am on, let me back up a little bit. Okay, here I am on the cluster settings page. I did login. This dropped me to the,
like below fauna, like one or
oh,
two.
yeah. Great feedback. I can see it, but
yeah.
let me see if I can move myself further
There you go.
out of the way. I'm still taking up the whole page here, but
well, no, I mean now just go. The font can go down one, I think. Oh, there we go. Even better. Okay,
now I'm completely out of the way. Okay, and can you all read? Fine. Okay. So now that I'm a ghost, let's see.
Wait, Waleed says it's still small. So
okay, no problem. Thanks, Waleed. Cool. Definitely let us know if you're having trouble. And so first thing I'm going to do is check this channel area. It looks like I'm subscribed to stable 4.4. I'm going to go, Brian, what do you think? Fast candidate?
Yeah, if you switch to the fast channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it still says,
be able to get something.
yeah. Well, I know I have pending updates already available on stable here in the update status.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So it says updates available. I was just wondering how weird should I try to get with this? I could try to do the stable upgrade. And it looks like I'm currently on OpenShift 4.4.8. I'm not exactly sure based on this. I'm a little bit hesitant to click this update button and
do
find
the
out.
stable update and then try to see if you could get to version 4.5.
So do stable and then switch to fast. I could try two upgrades if we wanted to, but
let's go all out.
yeah. I'll start with this one. So I'll start with stable. But this is definitely something that if you wanted newer, more bleeding edge code, you could definitely switch to this release candidate if you wanted something really fresh. Like particularly if you were doing service integration work and you're building an operator that is some data supporting a database, I'd probably be testing against this candidate stream. You may encounter more errors in the candidate stream, but you'll get the newer code, and that's probably what you should be testing against if you're a system integrator. So I'll start with stable, and I'll hit the upgrade button. Aha, and here it goes. Here's the question box. So it looks like we can roll up to 4.4.16. If I successfully migrate to 4.4.16, this is the valid window of ranges that I can migrate between. So I've got a lot of flexibility here, but I can't just go from 4.4.8 to kind of anything in the world. I may need some precursor information in order to successfully roll to 4.5. So it's possible that once I get to 4.16, 5 will show up as an option. But I haven't played around a whole lot with this. Brian, what do you think? Should I go with 4.4.16?
Yeah. Do the 4.4.16. So the things that are in this list are things that have been, or they should have been validly, successfully upgraded, from 4.4.8 to which version is on that list. So the 4.4.8 version doesn't have has a one-click upgrade path or whatever to 4.5, I would guess. But some of the newer versions would. So the 4.4.16 probably will have a 4.5 upgrade path. But you just have to incrementally upgrade to that to get to 4.5. As far as I've seen, I've done this once or twice.
Yeah. This is work that originally, I'll jump back in front of the camera. So this is all work that originally started at CoreOS under the Tectonic project. CoreOS was playing around with being able to almost run, not Kubernetes, well, kind of like Kubernetes on Kubernetes in a way. What this is actually doing is we're scheduling rolling updates of each of the pieces of Kubernetes one at a time until we roll forward to a new release of Kubernetes. And ideally, this is all happening with zero downtime to our applications because the platform is a distributed system as a platform as well. And so we can migrate, hopefully, containers or workloads onto other available machines, shuffle the deck, and keep everything in operation, hopefully.
So
So
there's two things that are kind of neat. Like if you look, yeah, you're looking at the cluster operator page. So if you go down, like you probably will be able to see some of these starting to be updated to the newer version. There you go.
etcd is one of the first things you got to update the database, central database at first. Another thing that's going to get updated very early on is the API server. It looks like that one hasn't rolled yet, but that one is going to need new information on how to perform a controller manager as well. These two are going to work together in order to perform rolling updates of Kubernetes itself. And if you're rolling to a new API, it may not have 100% knowledge of what you're rolling forward to. You may need a short amount of downtime on the API while you do that swap, but it's hopefully designed to be a distributed system that tolerates small amounts of downtime. So shouldn't be a problem. As long as you're not trying to migrate around a lot of instances that are doing streaming and have streaming connections, that gets extra tricky. But you could use Istio, Linkerd, service mesh things to do traffic shaping and traffic routing to handle that layer of the problem as well.
Yeah. And this makes it easy. You don't have to, necessarily update each thing incrementally. Like it handles that, and you could see those updates happen as they're going without affecting what's going on the system. So stuff's still working. One of the other things that was neat too, that I thought was interesting, is if you go into the admin view, you could look at the nodes and you could see that the actual operating system version and all that stuff like gets also updated as things are going. So down on compute, you could look at nodes.
Oh, this is nice.
Yeah, each one of those is a node that's running. It could be a master or worker that your cluster is working on, right? But if you click into one of those, you could see the Red Hat Core OS version under details after some of the graphs of the metrics. It's down on that page. You could see you
OS
can see
image.
the specific OS image, and these updates might not have an update to the actual OS image, but if they do, that gets also upgraded and those nodes get rebooted as things go along, and you as the person using the cluster wouldn't know, because those upgrades are happening staged one by one, and it's not going to affect your application running in production or wherever it's going.
Yeah, it looks like this 3 minutes ago, this kubelet just came back online, indicating that this node's ready to get more work. And graphs look pretty good. We could see, if you were an operations person, if you needed more specifics about how that workload is being managed, or whether it's being managed effectively, whether it has memory leaks or other things, you could get a view at what's happening specifically on the nodes, in addition to what's happening in your developer workloads. So yeah, really nice graphs that have been added in on the administrator side, and the developer side as well, depending on what
Lead is asking a question here, so it's a hard one. And this could be a Rob Zumpke question. So all the upgrade information and tooling is is it only contained in one image, and from that image, all the other images are downloaded? I believe that's how it works. It's one image that fires off a bunch of operators that fires off. It's triggering a ton of operators, so all those operator images are being updated and firing. So the actual mechanics of that, Waleed, I don't know. Do either of you know?
I think one of the first things that that gets so um, if I recall the order
Right.
correctly,
That's why I don't want
this
to
is the
comment on
thing.
it.
Yeah, yeah. No, if Josh Wood drops in, I know he's great at
Okay.
recounting the details of how this upgrade happens. I think one of the first pieces that gets swapped out is on one of on the control plane nodes. You upgrade the kubelet to the latest Kubernetes version first, because the kubelet knows how to start new workloads. The very first workload that you load into that kubelet, and that step of loading a new kubelet might involve rebooting a machine, especially if these are a containerized machine or a virtual machine. That might be a reboot for that particular step. But once that new kubelet is in there, it knows how to run just about any Kubernetes workload, assuming that the API server says, hey, wake up, it's your time to go to work, right? It needs an API server to give it that notice, and we don't have the next gen API server yet. So you manually get a new kubelet somehow. OpenShift does this using the machine config operators, and that'll roll our base level machines. So new kubelet is the first step. Once that new kubelet is around, it knows how to execute new workloads. The very first new workload that's going to come online is the next gen upgraded Kube API server. That will then allow that and the scheduler, those two pieces. Once the new API server and scheduler come on, then you can schedule rolling updates of the whole rest of the kind of control plane architecture. Once the control plane has been upgraded, you can upgrade each of the worker nodes safely.
But important to know, the upgrade process handles all of that. So as the person working with the cluster, all you do is click the upgrade button. It's doing everything in incrementally doing one upgrade piece, then the next, then the next, that needs to get done to upgrade everything.
Yeah. Yep. So, let's see. Let me jump out of the way again. It looks like I have a warning here. And I'm going to click in and see. It looks like controller managers and schedulers. Those are the two things I was saying were kind of vitally important. Automatic image pruning is not I don't know if this warning is super relevant to me. Alerts are not configured to be sent to a notification system. Not an issue. That's kind of, I just set up a new cluster, and that's why.
If you wanted to get alerts, you would set up PagerDuty, right? Like that would make that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You'd have something more powerful, so you're not trying to swallow all that information on your own. You gotta filter it through something first. But this whole system, even with these two warnings, system never went down. System is still reporting its status appropriately, and it's able to say, oh wow, I got stuck and here I'm at, and I'm going to keep working until I get either to the result you want. Oh, there we go. Control plane, check mark, got the control plane upgraded. So it may have actually hit an error and then recovered from the error that it hit, or I'm just pointing out these two warnings that are kind of non-issues.
So Waleed in chat says that it is a bug. You need to kill the prune jobs and disable pruning if it is enabled. But I'm assuming that has been fixed. Maybe?
So image pruning, I think is more of an optimization step. If you have a very, very new cluster, one of the things you want to do in order to make sure that cluster is fast is pre-populate images onto every node in the system that is going to need to use those images. So if you have Node.js builds that are running, that'll take a lot longer if the worker node where the build is being performed, if it doesn't have the Node.js image, it's going to have to wait, do a pull, pull down a couple hundred megs. It doesn't take that long, but it can be maybe like a 10-20 second delay in your build process. And at that point, the Node.js image will get cached on that one machine. You run another build, your build might run on any node in the cluster. You may have to pay that same time penalty again. So an optimization technique is pre-populating all those images onto every machine where they will be needed. On the other hand, the result of the build, maybe you can clean up that image after a while. There is a certain amount of image pruning and image cleanup that does need to happen, but that's kind of more day two. Like usually my first concern is making sure developers can work and that their builds will run. After I get that crossed off, then I can work on cleanup and kind of shining things up, making things look good. Definitely important to get to, and something you don't want to neglect, but something you could wait until day two to deal with.
Yep, I think that's fair. Can you
Cool.
Can you do a shared storage to pre-populate those images?
Shared storage.
Yeah, like I'm assuming if you have like NFS mounted at all those locations or whatever, iSCSI. Yeah, if you have like a CSI, a container storage interface going there already, yeah, they could be pre-populated through that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much.
You would have to already have them.
Yeah, you
right,
would, and ideally they are going to be cached in. OpenShift has a image registry, and so they'd be cached in the image registry. We could take a look at. Let's see, where would that be? Storage. Where does I'm not sure exactly where images has ended up in our UI
workloads.
Pods, stateful sets. Maybe I should just go to search. Is there like a? I know there's some way you can just like browse all resource types. And I don't remember where that is. Route?
Or search. Serena says use search.
I don't know where the search button is. Maybe I got the UI scaled wrong.
You can go into the developer.
Oh, it's in the developer side.
And then you could go under
search. Here we go.
Search. Yep. There's also another way to look that up in the admin view too that does I think similar. But
so there's the image streams and the images. These are going to be things that there's a image registry that every OpenShift cluster comes with. If you were using Google Container Image, they would encourage you to use a centralized or a hosted container registry, specifically GCR or Google Container Registry. In that case, where the images are hosted is remote in GCR. If you want them cached locally within your cluster to reduce the transmit time of those images, having a local registry running inside your cluster helps reduce that transmission time and makes it easier to get the images from that centralized registry onto your node machines. As long as they're relatively close together, the wider out, the more spread out your Kubernetes cluster is, the harder it's going to be to synchronize things. But if the machines are all relatively tight synchronization and you have a centralized image registry like OpenShift includes, then you're good. I think we give you the default Docker registry as a starting point.
Is that what that is? Sorry, I
It's the
didn't. So
open
someone
source.
asked.
Yeah, the open source Docker registry.
Okay,
That
is that the default we give, and then
you
you can
know,
install Quay, or is it
I
the open
wonder
source Quay
actually.
now?
I need to double check with someone,
Yeah.
because here's the
I
deal. We had in OpenShift 3, it was the open source Docker registry. With
Right.
OpenShift 4, we might have actually swapped it out with it's probably swapped with something cryo based. I would imagine,
Yeah.
or
I mean, it's
Podman, or
Docker registry 2 compatible, but it's not Docker
Yeah.
registry. I don't think.
In OpenShift
Yeah.
3, it was the upstream source code for the Docker registry.
So you could look. There's a couple of things. I know that Quay.io and Quay Enterprise are a thing, and you could have Quay Enterprise running on OpenShift and use that as your image registry. But that is not what you get by default. You get one that is included with the OpenShift, just the OpenShift image registry. And you could go under the projects and look at the OpenShift image registry project if you're admin on that cluster, which you should be. The other two things that I wanted to mention is there's a search on the administrator view under home. So just look under the first tab.
Yeah, there you go.
Where you were looking for initially, though, is under builds. So if you go to the builds, there's image streams that are there.
Perfect.
Right?
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you
all
to
those are
the
there.
audience for pitching in, Brian and the audience. Yeah. It looks like this roll to 4.4.16. It looks like it's 70. What did it say? Administrator. Get back to my overview. Check the cluster settings. So 78% complete to get this upgrade to 4.16 done. And then at that point, I'll be able to check and see if we can roll to 4.5. But coming along pretty well. I mean, I can try deploying a basic project, and we can test to make sure that it's fully operational, even while its head is being slowly replaced with new information. So I'm going to grab github.com/ got a repo here that should work with Node.js. We'll call this, sure, base app. Yeah, why not? I'll use a standard Kubernetes deployment. This deployment config resource we introduced in the OpenShift 3 series. Both are available depending on what your team has chosen to standardize on. And let's see, this is the topology view. I wonder, oh, my head's in the way again. All right, there we go. We've got a Node.js app that looks to be starting up. I don't know if this, I have a not a great network connection, so I'm curious whether these loading bars are my own connection problems or just the cluster being a little slow due to the API server going missing and coming back online, and all the cards being kind of shuffled around.
Joys of cloud, you know.
Yeah, right. So let's see if I can find a different way
Is there a build? Look at the build and see if there's
take a look at the
build
builds
running.
menu.
And your neck is like right in front of the
right in the way of everything. Yep, I need a better way of sharing screens. It looks like we've got at least some progress on this. I'm going to check back in on the administrator side and see how we're doing with the cluster settings. Still 78%. Okay. Well, let's see if we get there before the end of the session. Yeah, I think part of this for me is excellent because I never want to have to deal with managing the cluster, upgrading the cluster. I've got work to do. I have a day job. I have other things going on, and to have this assurance that I can drop a cluster on any cloud and bring my best tools to wherever the problems are, instead of being like, oh, I've got problems, how do I get my tools there? I can go anywhere with a mobile compute platform like this, any cloud, or even run it all on my laptop. So lots of options, and a lot of ways to stay out of the business of managing your own cluster, and also partially helps you avoid some of the complexity, or a good amount of complexity, in learning about Kubernetes, managing Kubernetes, and keeping up with all the changes in terminology over time, because it moves fast.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So it lets me focus on what I'm building versus the infrastructure component, right? So I just get the OpenShift cluster, Kubernetes cluster set up running, and I could focus on what I'm doing. And I don't have to think about, oh, I need storage. I just need to, create a PV and a PVC, and I get storage, for example, right? I don't need to think about how to connect all that stuff together. It handles that for you. It handles all the upgrades and all of that stuff, which is neat.
So it looks like, even though I wasn't able to load the UI during the demo, this thing still ran the build. Things are still happening in the background without my knowledge. I don't need to know. I don't need to care. Hopefully the system provides a productive work environment for people who are interested in having a productive work environment. So
Question from Chad here. Is there any way we can integrate any image scanning tool like Clear with the images registry for scanning the images that are being pushed to the image registry? Like, we already scan them, but if they want to have their own installed scanner scan them as well, how would they do that?
That is a great question. You
Is there
want
not an operator for that?
So I mentioned earlier that the kind of standard open source container registry was our default option. One excellent selection you could look into is Claire, or Quay and Claire, as a upgraded container registry. That's something that is hosted in containers. That's how we run it. You can sign up for a free plan and use Quay.com instead of GCR. Yeah, or Quay.io. Okay, instead of Google Container Registry, or instead of Docker Hub.
Yep. And you get the Claire scanning for free.
You get Claire scanning for free. Exactly. I think you could also add some amount of auditing into your pipeline. That's definitely another option. And Claire, the static image analysis tool, is available as a standalone binary. So you can just call Claire from Jenkins, or
Texon,
whatever,
wherever you're using it from, GitHub
whatever
Actions,
makes sense
whatever,
for
yeah,
your pipeline. Yeah, whatever your pipeline is, you could definitely mix in Claire to get some visibility, and that usually is going to rely on you using your workloads need to be built from some type of image that has CVE reporting against it. So I think Alpine Linux is now on the list of base images, container images you can use that does get CVEs reported against it.
oh, nice.
So Alpine's now a viable option as far as at least visibility of security alerts. Other things that I would highly recommend, there's a Universal Base Images, or UBI. Sounds like Universal Basic Income, and maybe you can convert it into money. I don't know, but UBI gives you kind of a rel or a RPM based base image, or at least something that reporting wise is very consistent with rel, Fedora. All those CVEs should apply, and you get a large base of businesses that are using it, testing it, relying on it, helping kick the tires and make sure that it's hopefully working correctly, right?
So yeah, Serena mentioned there's a couple options too. So Quay.io you could use. That's a software as a service, and you can pay for it, get some advanced features. But by default, you get security scanning there, and you could have OpenShift pool from Quay.io, like you mentioned. There's also the container security operator, which you can install, and it will give you some details with just the standard OpenShift image registry. If you have Quay and Claire, it will, or if you have Quay installed on the cluster as well, so Quay Enterprise, you can then connect it that way, and it'll show some information there in Quay as well. But then also, if you're using one of our partners' toolings, there are definitely some partners that are working with us that will pass out some of that information. It's scanning the image registry that's on OpenShift, and it'll pass some of that information to OpenShift so that you could see what's going on security-wise in the OpenShift console. Black Duck comes to mind. There's other vendors out there that work with us quite a bit. So there's many options. The one that Serena mentioned, though, is the container security operator, and I have that on my screen. I'll post the link into the chat. You can install that on the operator hub that's built into OpenShift.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Brian. Thanks. The hub is always a good place to turn to for partner vendor solutions, especially if you want a second opinion other than just Red Hat's advice. Take a look at what the rest of the community is doing and what people are doing outside the OpenShift space as well. We're trying to make sure everyone has the tools they need to do their best. So definitely take a look at Operator Hub. The contents there should be installable on any Kubernetes cluster, not just OpenShift clusters. But OpenShift gives you a real nice multi-tenant Kubernetes that can be self-managed and run on any cloud. So definite, hopefully clear upsides there. Let's see, do one more check-in here on, whoops. Let me get another check-in on how our cluster is doing. Looks like we still got a little bit more work. We're still at 83%. It looks like only one major piece is still waiting. There's a machine config with 448. Other than that, it looks like we're just about completely rolled to 4.4.16. So we're basically there. It's probably just rolling worker nodes at this point.
The machine config operator, is that the one that's handling upgrading the nodes? I think that might be.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a slower one, I think.
It is a little bit slower one, but it is doing quite a bit and behind the scenes, right? Like, and optimizing that is not trivial. So
the work there is actually, if you're on the administration side of a Kubernetes cluster, generally the work in that phase, you're going to apply, I think, a taint to each node, make them non-schedulable, drain the nodes. That means evacuate all the workloads, move them onto other available machines. And then once that node has successfully migrated all of its workloads somewhere else, then you can safely shut it down, reboot it. But that all may depend on how many workloads are on the machines and how quickly they can be migrated onto other available machines. And you can't upgrade every node at the same time because you're constantly cycling the workloads around onto current machines, right? Or machines that have been successfully upgraded. It looks like I got some kind of warning here.
Oh, boy.
Machine config has not yet. It says yet. Okay. I thought it was a failure, but it says yet, so I still have hope.
There's always hope.
Yeah, but nice that we're constantly getting updates streamed in, and all the while, I was able to successfully build and deploy, and got to my hello world for the app that I was dealing with.
Okay,
So,
cool. Live migrated.
Productivity achieved. Yeah. During a migration. That's the main demo I wanted to share. So,
yeah. So to be clear, Ryan stood up a cluster, began an upgrade, or had an app running, began an upgrade, and the application moved right along with the upgrade. As nodes were made unavailable, the app went to the right parts of the cluster to work effectively. So that is essentially what was just demoed. The fact you missed James in the comments says the teaser at the start said live migration. Any details? That was it.
Yeah, I just clicked on the upgrade button. There was one.
No, we didn't need
and then we talked about how complex everything was running in the background that I don't have to care about because I've got the right tools to be productive. And as a developer, I don't care about how these nodes get drained or migrated or shuffled. Like, I don't care. Like, if I can do my job, cool. I'm out. Like, that's what I needed. So
yeah, like go ahead and get your cluster spun up and let it upgrade itself and let your work run along with it, right? Like if you have them built in a consistently, if you have your applications built in a cloud native way that'll, take advantage of, multiple pods or, not lock themselves down to one node particularly somehow, through annotations or labels. Your application should just move itself right around along with the upgrade to just keep itself running.
That's the idea. Yep. So anyway, any other questions? I don't have my chat open. Any other questions in chat that we can get to?
Waleed mentioned Trivy, the simple little scanner from Aqua Security. So I dropped the link to that in chat.
Thank you. Thank you, Waleed.
Yeah, that's always super helpful to have, more scanners available to you, right? And, to be honest with you, not all scanners are created equal, right? Like, it's just like antivirus software, I think, to an extent, right? Like some are fast, but don't necessarily cover everything. Some cover everything, but aren't necessarily fast. So like you've got to find the right mix and what works for you, right? Like you might want to have a quick scan as you pull it down locally, but you might want to have a more thorough scan as you push it out to production kind of thing, right? So yeah, always
I did network security for a little bit, and it's always about layered security protocol.
Bingo.
You need that, right? Because there's different ways to do many different things. They pick up on different signatures. They pick up on different things. So you need to stack the deck in your favor if you're really trying to be secure, to put it, ultra simple, and you need multiple layers in your security approach. So scanning container images, and exactly what you're saying, there's multiple different ways to do that. Having that at least should be something that you think about.
Yeah, I don't want to say like only rely, like it's safe to rely only on Clear, right? Like, because I feel like Clear is robust, but Clear is not going to be like the quick, speedy thing that you need, right? Like, if you're like, all right, I'm just going to try and kick the tires on this image. Like, is this even sane to run this in production? Yeah, running Trivy against it makes total sense. And then maybe you discover, later on down the chain that, ooh, this actually has a CVE I should patch. And then, you get that patched as part of your CI/CD pipeline, and off you go. Totally reasonable, to use multiple scanners in this scenario. Right.
One of the really interesting things that we used to do with OpenShift 3, and I haven't really tested this in a while with the standard deployment instead of deployment config. But if you, for some reason, let's say you were on the security team, you found out that there is a new major exploit in Alpine Node.js image or something like that, and you realize that you have a whole fleet of unpatched workloads that are in production that are vulnerable. If you know for sure that the exploit is not in the application code, but it's in that libssl or Node.js or something that's part of that base image, you can basically do a podman push or Docker push as an administrator into the cluster. When OpenShift recognizes that a new base image has become available, it can automatically trigger a new build to basically restitch the application code on top of an upgraded base image and then do a rolling upgrade out to deployment. So you, without even involving your developers, you can go from this morning, I had 100% of my Node.js workloads were vulnerable. I found the issue. I did one Docker push and the cluster was like, oh, new base layers. Awesome. I'm going to rebuild and redeploy and get you back to where you need to be. So some of the work can be kind of that simple using a system like OpenShift. But that's really kind of relies on a whole lot of coordination between, you're sharing the same cluster with your team of developers. It's not the type of model where every developer has their own separate cluster that they're all self-managing. It's more of a managed cluster model, but it's something you can easily do. So,
right. Yeah, easily is a relative term here, but
well,
yeah, it's
hopefully we give you the right tools to to find your own path. But yeah, easy depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Definitely. Right.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a lot easier than, upgrading each component manually and dealing with all of that.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. Other options. I don't want to. The goal here is to have this be just as simple as what you might get from AWS, where you just, hey, I'll pick a version number and it just happens, or on Google's cloud or anyone else's cloud. The idea is easy controls so you don't have to manage the complexity on your own. Although in the case where you have to have data locality or machines that are local, maybe you're stuck with managing the complexity on your own. If you'd rather not, geez, we've got the tools, regardless of what cloud, bare metal, hosted, doesn't matter. You got machines, we'll make them productive machines, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, cool. Anything else, guys?
I think that is about it. I was gonna throw out a update for folks, small minor update. I pushed some changes to kubernetesbyexample.com. Small changes. I think mostly the DIY page now has links back to learn.openshift.com with the OpenShift 4.4 environment instead of 4.2.
Nice.
So small upgrade, but if you have any suggestions, ideas, things that you would like to see on kubernetesbyexample.com, please file an issue. Let me know what we can do to help make that site valuable for you. Other than that, next Tuesday, every Tuesday, same hour, we got this reoccurring time slot. We'd love to have you back next week. Next week, Serena, who's been super helpful in chat.
Yes.
Thank you, Serena.
Thank you.
Next week, Serena will be joining us in person virtually and showing us a lot of new features, preview features for OpenShift. So stay tuned. Meet us next week. Thanks for bringing your questions. And I think that's about all I got. Anything else from the two of you?
next week we might even see you or talk to some of you guys at KubeCon.
Oh man,
You'll be able to see
KubeCon
us
is
on
next
the
week.
booth,
That's
man.
right. No, are we doing the show next week? We are, right?
So that's I think the plan is Serena will be doing this show.
Yes. She said she wanted to run it. I forgot. Sorry. So yeah,
Yeah,
let's still
and
do it during KubeCon.
so
Yeah.
but that's another great tip. Thanks, Brian. KubeCon is next week, virtually. See you there, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, see you there maybe.
Yeah.
$75, right? Like that's not bad. If you need financial assistance for some reason and you want to like still go to KubeCon, and $75 is like something that your company won't cover or you can't handle, feel free to reach out to me. There's no shame. I will get you a ticket. Okay. Seriously. If the financial means are just not there for you right now, I completely understand and I will help you out. That's not me giving dollars away. That's me just working the back channels through CNCF.
I think they also have like
they have a scholarship
that is
program
awesome.
too.
They also have that. They have what is it? They have a keynote expo hall
that
type
closed out
thing.
last Friday.
Oh, so that's done. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, definitely. Chris is a CNCF ambassador, so definitely go to him for support on that. And like I said, what Twitter handle for Chris? What do you
Chris
got?
Short.
At Chris Short.
Super
Brian
simple.
is B Tanis.
Brian Tanis. At Brian Tanis.
At Brian Tanis. Okay. And I'm Ryan J. And love to see you next time. Cool. I think that's it.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you joining us. Stick around for OpenShift Commons. Be back here in a few minutes.